Hi everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and that over there is a sick Connor, and we are going to talk about Quarry, Season 1, Episode 1. It's the first episode. It is called You Don't Miss Your Water, and this is from Cinemax. It is a brand new show, obviously, and it is about a soldier who comes back from Vietnam after he's finished and finds that he's not coming back to this big grand welcoming. He's coming back to a country that's sort of villainising him for the things he's done while he's away at war, and he is made an offer to become a hitman. Now that's the in a sentence premise of the show. Obviously, there's a bit more to it than that. We'll start spoiler free because it's the first episode, and we don't want to we want to give you a sense of the quality before we move on to plot points. So you'll be given warning, and so. Let's get into it. Connor, did you like this show, this episode?
For the most part.
I quite liked it myself. I think the premise could have went either way. Like,
Yeah.
you give me this premise, I'm thinking this could be dull as hell, or this could be engaging. It entirely depends on the filmmaking, I guess, getting into it. And that's where this kind of succeeded in that it was very well directed. It was very well acted, pretty much all the way through, and I can't fault it. It has a style, it has a tone, it has a voice. It doesn't feel like just some other show that's, it doesn't feel like. There's almost this thing with network TV where a lot of premises feel like they just slot into a format,
Yeah.
whereas this doesn't feel like that. It feels like someone's, they're making something. They're having an artistic expression, as douchebaggy as that might sound. That's kind
No,
of
I,
what I
I
mean.
get that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something that I spotted very early on was the filmmaking, because it opens with a very, like he wakes up in the water, and we're assuming this is Vietnam because of the situation.
Yeah.
And it builds tension. It's very abstract. We don't exactly know what's going on. Then we get the title screen, and then we're introduced to him like coming home, and it picks up there, and it introduces elements early in the episode that are paid off later. So it's very well structured in that sense. I also thought it was very well paced.
Interestingly, I don't think it needed to be as long as it was this episode.
Okay,
I think if it had ended at this is Cinemax, so it's normally what 50 minutes.
about
If it
that, yeah.
if it had ended at the 50-minute mark, there's a perfect ending right there.
We'll save
That
that
I
for
think
spoilers because we
no,
can't.
no, I'm not going to talk about what it is. I just think that would have made a better ending, and then the rest of this should have been part of the next episode. For me.
I have no idea if I agree until you tell me what it is. So
Okay, that's fair enough. But it just
I have
as I
no
was
idea.
watching it, as I was watching it, got to the point where I thought it was the ending, and I checked the time, and it was 50 minutes dead on. I was like, why is this longer now?
Because the next part didn't fit into episode 2.
Maybe, but I feel like it didn't. I feel like they would have been better there for me.
I have no idea how you can really say that until you see episode 2 and see if it fit
No,
there.
no, but what I mean is, I feel like it would have been better as the start of the next episode. It depends. Obviously, like episode 2 could be then pushed through whatever, but I feel like most of this next 25 minutes should have been should have been the start of the next episode, not a continuation of this one.
I disagree, because most of that stuff's the best part of the episode.
Fair enough.
I don't think
It's not a judgment of the quality. I think
No, no,
a
but
lot of the best stuff's there.
no, I don't think I'd be sold in this show for not if it wasn't. I think that last 25 minutes is the end of the opening of this story. That last 25 minutes completes the opening premise of the show. It sets up the show. So I don't really know how you could say that. I think thematically it ties at the end.
I still stand by what I say. For me, the ending was earlier. Should have been earlier.
No, I disagree. I completely disagree with that.
All right.
But it's pointless to argue about this until we can actually talk about plot points.
It
So,
is.
so now, what did you think in general of the show? What?
Yeah, it's mostly pretty good. I mean, something bothered me near the start. This is okay. Minor plot spot. Like it's not really anything. We talked about how he's villainized right from the start. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming back, and it's a surprise for his wife that he's a day early. This is like the opening of the episode. Yet there is a protest group outside the airport that knows he's there. How is it publicized enough that there is a whole protest, yet the wife has no idea?
I think it's possible. I like. Would she be paying attention to how the publication of it if she's
But
just...
it's on the he's on the news. He talks about oh, he's on the TV, he's in the newspapers.
Nah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he only lies about it by one day, so...
Sure, but the fact that there is like a crowd, like it's a full crowd of people there,
Honestly, it didn't bother me. I didn't really care.
it really stuck in my head for a good like 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't get out of my mind.
Um, I don't know. Maybe she actively avoids watching the news or something. I don't know. Because
Maybe.
her husband's a soldier and is over there, and it's like depressing for her. I don't know. I'm just...
I don't know. It just
it didn't so much bother me. It's a fair point. It never really occurred to me. But no, the show's very tense. Very good
It is.
cast. And
Yeah.
my cat's
I don't think they
whinging
agree with you.
at no end, so I'm going to let him out. Connor, you continue talking.
Yeah, the cats don't agree with him because I don't either, really. I agree with him on the general premise. It's pretty good. It's very good, but he should agree with my issues. He really should.
What were you saying?
I was just saying that you're mostly right because it is very good, but you should also agree with my issues because I'm right as well.
All right. No, never. No, the second one was more fair. The first one I didn't really disagree with. So no, I think the cast. Actually, Peter Mullen's in this, and I didn't I recognised him when he popped up. He plays a character called the Broker, and I knew him from somewhere, and it didn't quite click until like a couple of minutes. And the reason why it didn't click is because I've never heard him use an American accent before. Peter Mullen, if you don't know, is Scottish.
I didn't know.
He's in Braveheart. He was in Tyrannosaurus. He's been in tons of stuff in the
Fair
UK.
enough.
Do
I've
you have...
probably seen him and just not remembered.
Yeah, I know. I know he is very well. But he, it took me like a couple of minutes because I'm like, I know that face. Where's he? What is he? Or who is he? And it was just like it occurred to me who he was, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've never heard him use an accent like this before. So you know, so anything else you want to add before we get into spoilers? Anything? Because I don't think there's a whole lot about this we can talk about without spoilers, to be honest.
No, like I said, tone's good, direction's good, acting's good. You should probably check it out.
Oh no, you definitely should. I thoroughly recommend checking this out. Alright, so full spoilers then from this point on. One of the first moments I really like from a direction point of view is when he comes home and though he's surprising the wife and he walks into like the kitchen and the back door's out looking at the pool. And he
Is it where it just stays behind him?
Yeah, he just leans against the door and you see her through the window, like cleaning the pool. And it just lingers there for like a good minute until he says something and she notices. I like how it lingers. There's a few moments throughout there where it does that. When his friend goes to get the job interview and he thinks he's going for a management position, and you just see it, and you hear nothing, you just see it from through the window in the door, the small little window, and you can see how it's going bad. Like you can just tell. There's a few moments like that through the episode that I really, really liked, where it trusted us to get it from just parts
Visual
of
cues,
yeah, visual cues rather than spelling it out to us, and I liked that.
Yeah, it was good.
So yeah, the broker is having him followed. He's got this guy who works for him who's very eccentric, seems to be gay in a time when being gay isn't, is openly discussed for a lot of people. But I certainly got that implication. Certainly from the hug later on, it felt very homoerotic in nature to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
But he likes to dance around and sing in his motel room or small apartment. I'm not sure if it may just be a really small little crappy apartment, but he makes the best of that, and he also casually builds baseball bats with nails sticking out of it, as you do.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, if you're in the hitman business. So he makes this offer, and I have to be honest, his friend, I was pretty sure he was a goner quite early on. And as soon as he said he'd taken like the money from the broker, the offer to become a hitman, I'm like, okay, he's definitely dead. Because this is what's going to, at least in part, drive Mac, who's the main character, to eventually take up the, because we know he's going to, because that's the show, but he's very reluctant, so we know we have to get there. And so I thought it was very, very well executed. I liked how we see it from his point of view across the street, because he goes to partner with him on this first job, and we just see him without any sound, like, well, at least almost no sound, like the bullet going through his neck as he's about to take a shot.
That's what's so impressive, because you do hear the sound of the silenced gun being fired.
It's very small though. It's very.
It is small, and the assumption is because obviously he has a silenced pistol, so the assumption for a second is that he shot. Is that's what it plays with, because it looks like that from his perspective, and then you see the guy doesn't die, and then he starts bleeding from his neck, and you're like, oh, okay.
I thought that moment was very, very well done, especially his like reaction, and then when he runs over and he's like, trying to kill the two guys, he only kills one of them, but that struggle's very passionate, like it's very visceral, and I really like that. Speaking of, actually, if I go back to when he goes back home, when Matt goes home and him and his wife have sex, I want to talk about this scene a little bit, because if we compare this to another show we just did last week called Startup, and we spoke about how the sex scenes in that were very gratuitous and they were trying to be edgy.
Yeah.
I think this was the exact opposite of that.
This was allowed to show tits.
No.
No, but I'm saying this was allowed to do more, yet it managed to refine itself more.
Well, the boobs are neither here nor there, but what I mean is that the scene actually had passion. Not even purpose, sure, but stop finishing my sentences. Let me finish. The scene had passion. It had I had the feelings were there. I could feel the emotion in the scene as they were touching each other that they hadn't done in a year. Every part of it felt genuine, and even once they actually started having sex, the pace of it felt like a normal, like a normal pace that felt like it. Whereas the scenes in Startup, it felt like every time it would cut in the middle of a sex scene, and they'd always be going at it as hard as possible, really fast.
Yeah.
And the woman would always be moaning really loudly, and it would be like, oh, we're cutting to a hardcore porn scene, basically. That's what it sounded like. Whereas here it felt like a more natural, normal sex scene, and you felt the emotions in the scene because of that.
Yeah,
which was important because the ending of the episode meant much more because we felt this. Because even though the friend brought up the fact that, he jokes about, well, you've been away for a year, you're not worried about catching her with some guy, that scene makes us care about them as a couple.
Yeah.
So later on in the episode, when he does discover that she's actually has had some sort of affair with this guy, it actually hits a lot harder. In fact, probably my favourite scene of the entire episode is him walking around the house and hearing it and crying outside the house.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a very good scene because obviously he's left in a frustration at that point, and obviously when he comes back and hears that, because he's gone back to kind of fix things.
Well, no, he's not. You're completely no. What happened there is that he was given the file to follow this guy.
Yeah.
Did you watch the episode, Connor?
I did, but this is illness, damn it.
Because he's given
blurring the two bits together.
The broker gives him a new job, because basically at this point the broker is like, well, I gave this 30 grand upfront investment to his friend, and now, Mac, you're going to have to work it off. And I still think he's going to get paid 4,000 per job, because that was always in the deal, but you have to work this off because that 30 grand has to mean something. And
I don't know if he will get the 4 grand per job though.
I think
because I don't know. I feel like he'll go, nah, it's a different deal now. You didn't take this. This is different.
Maybe, but I don't know. I feel like
just to keep him on his good side.
Yeah, partly that, but partly I get a sense of. At least I've not had the sense that the broker's going to go out of his way to screw him over. I feel like there's at least some sense of honour and the way he does things. I don't know. That's just the sense I get.
I get that, but I just feel like it's more of a power play. You refused, so now we do it my way. And we do it this way first, and then after that.
Well, see, now here's the other element, though, that I wasn't planning on going about it this way around, but the whole thing with the first target being this guy who he discovers is sleeping with his wife, right? That putting him over the edge is almost like the broker's way of bringing him in. Like, it's almost like a baby step because he'll want to kill this person.
Yeah.
He's bringing him into his good side, so for that reason, I don't think he's going to then turn around and screw him over. He's building someone who's going to be a reliable worker for years. That's what he wants to achieve here.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the way he kills this guy when he goes to him when he's working on the car, you knew how he was going to do it.
Yeah, but it's still brutal and shocking, isn't it?
So he's working underneath the car, and he kicks the jack away, and the car crushes him. It's beautiful. And then the final scene of the episode, which I also thought was fantastic acting, is he's in the pool, and the wife wakes up and realizes he's home, and comes out. Jodie's her name, and she like comes up to the door and like tries to talk to him. Or I don't even know if she says anything. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't.
I don't think she does.
But the scene, even if she tries to initiate conversation, the scene otherwise is completely silent, and they just look at each other, and she knows he knows.
It's because he's playing the record.
It's because he's playing the record, which obviously they were arguing earlier about it being missing, and he went and got it from the guy, and she must have, maybe not known for sure he'd taken it, but she must have known that's probably where it went. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. And like, but like, obviously the record gives her the evidence, if you will, and maybe the pondering. It's the looks in the faces. She looks into his eyes, and she knows he knows, and he knows she knows he knows. You know, like. There's so much in that scene, and this is why I think this whole ending at 25 minutes earlier is absurd, because
well, see, I get what you mean, but I still think the 50-minute mark where it ends.
Well, okay, what was the end of the 50-minute mark?
It's where the friend gets killed and he kills the two people. It's just before it cuts to the funeral. He kills the two people and he looks up. I think that works perfectly well as an ending for me. I think that's like a really great strong point to end on. It's like, that's it. He's taking, that's the first step in now.
It would have been fine, but it wouldn't have been as good. Because thematically it's not wrapped up what the opening episode's doing.
Thematically, maybe not, but I think it's a better ending for me. I think it's a better...
Because the whole episode has this theme, and the whole like bringing back, is she cheating on him from earlier in the episode? Everything like comes back round full circle. It sets up the premise where he's going to be willing to do these jobs, and honestly, that's the stuff in the episode that hit me the hardest, was him finding out she was cheating on him, and then his reaction to that and killing the guy, like all that stuff.
I feel like you say, him like accepting the jobs. I think I personally would have preferred that in the second episode, and this to have ended with the first step into it, like he's killed four.
Do you know what? I would understand your argument if it dragged, but I don't think it did. I thought the pacing was on point.
No, I didn't think it dragged either. I just still think that was a better ending.
Oh, I completely disagree. I'd be curious to hear what other people think of that thought.
But I do think it's interesting how they had that ending or potential ending there dead on the 50-minute mark, which is their typical length.
I think that's a complete coincidence.
It probably is, but it feels like that was why it was like that. Is so perfectly paced to that point.
I think when you have it be 25 minutes longer, I think that's just naturally the end of the third act or the second act. Like it just, it just naturally happens there because of where it is now. So I think it's quite clear that we're probably going to do another episode of this. Possibly the whole show.
Because do we know how many episodes this is?
8.
8. Okay, that's not too many.
8 episodes. I thought this was a very strong first episode. This is a show where it took a premise which could have been really boring to me. Not necessarily so. Like I like First Blood, which is about a soldier coming back from Vietnam, and
it's kind of standard enough that it can go either. Like you can do anything with it.
Yeah, but it was made with very strong direction, strong tone, excellent pacing, and good acting. Like it had all the things in it that I need to care about it. And it made me care about some of the characters. It made me, interested in him now being a hitman. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the arc of the entire season will be. I fully suspect there will be maybe a police character introduced who is tracking these kills.
Seems the obvious way to go, doesn't it?
From the other side, and maybe there's some sort of larger game plan from the broker we don't know about. Although I don't know. Maybe it would be more interesting if there isn't something like that. Maybe it would be more interesting if it is just, random hit jobs from different people.
Mm.
But no, I'm not entirely sure what it's going to do in episode 2, but I really liked episode 1.
It was good. It was very good.
And Quarry, of course, the title of the episode, or the title of the show, sorry, is the code name that Mac gets from the broker, which obviously is also a code name, which makes sense in this line of business. You want code names.
I'd want one too, personally.
Aye, the Ginge.
I knew you were going to say that. I was literally going to say, and not just the Ginge, but no, you've done it now. That's it. It's set.
Bring on the Ginge. Oh dear. Any other scenes you'd like to mention? There were several other good ones that I've not brought up. I think the scene where he's working on the car with the customer, and the customer starts to talk to him about the war and like how he's understanding.
Lose it a little bit.
Yeah, and he loses it a little bit. That something about just putting his hand up over the guy's face is very like uncomfortable, because it's something you just would never do to someone. Like you'd almost expect him to just punch him, and that would be more normal. But doing that felt very,
threatening. Yeah.
Yeah, oddly very threatening, but also at the same time just very surreal. Like you would never expect someone to just do that.
Yeah. The one I like was the dichotomy of the funeral scene, where you had like it's quite an upbeat gospel song that they were singing, but then you had him and his wife and obviously the family just silent and grieving silently compared to everyone else.
I'm actually surprised you've not mentioned the music in general.
Why is that?
There was a lot of songs that were of the era, and it seemed to play a big part of the sort of the.
I guess I kind of expect it in period pieces like this. Like it's an easy way of setting a time frame.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's annoying me that I've left this word out. The texture of the show. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, it's something I kind of expect it with period pieces, because it's an easy way of establishing setting and time. I mean, along with obviously the look, visual, style, like fashion. Which actually, music is an easy signifier.
That's something else to mention, actually, is I thought they did a good job making it feel like the 70s without
being over the top, cheesy sort of.
Like it felt like it was just of that. It was kind of like how Stranger Things just felt like it was of the 80s without, shoving tons of 80s things in your face.
It's easy to overdo it. Yeah.
So restraint is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think it did a good job. I'm going to end on one little humorous point. The actor who plays Mac, Logan Marshall Green, he has this weird bump in his forehead, which I'm not going to lie, I was noticing a lot.
Yeah, you kind of especially I think there's a bit where he looks into like a mirror and stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of fixate on it a little bit.
I'm like, I'm hoping he's went and got it checked, made sure it's not a tumour, because it's there in the middle of his forehead, so it's hard to ignore.
Yeah.
But no, really good first episode, really good.
Definitely.
So we will be covering that. This is one that came out of nowhere, and apologies actually for this being a day or two later than we normally would have had it up, because it aired on Friday night. But Connor was ill, and he's clearly still ill, but he's not as ill as he was a couple of days ago. So
no, the other day I had lost my voice entirely, so this would have been a very different review if I tried to do it then.
Potentially a much better one, actually.
I mean, you could argue that.
Potentially much better. So, thanks very much for watching, guys. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below if you checked it out. Like and subscribe and all that jazz helps us out a lot. And stay tuned for a bunch of more new episodes from new shows hitting soon, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Busy time over September and October. So thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.